It's pretty interesting. Streaming has actually made TV relevant again and cheap when it comes to a CPM cost. You can now do like geography-based ads that stream on a TV while somebody is watching like Hulu or YouTube TV and get them at CPMs from $1 to $2. It's actually crazy. And today I'm having on my friend Tim to talk to me about this. You're going to learn how TV is becoming this new growth channel, how it can perform as well as social from a ROI standpoint, because you can actually track, hey, they saw this ad and then went and Googled the product on their mobile device on the same network and made a purchase. You have directly attributable actions that you can track. And then how to get started in this, what's the minimum spend, and what's the type of companies that this is working for. I've had Tim on the show before. He talked about out-of-home marketing. It's a great episode if you want a crash course in how to run billboards and really anything else that's physical. And this episode is brought to you by Graph.com. Graph.com is an AI data analytics platform. It helps you build dashboards and get insights about your data in minutes with zero learning curve. You just connect your data source, prompt the AI to build the charts or a full dashboard that you're looking for, and it's going to build those KPI dashboards for you. An example of this is you can have your Google ads, your Facebook ads, and your HubSpot data in a single dashboard to track all of your paid ad spends, the data that's related to that, and then the leads that are coming from that. Data analytics is one of the most powerful things that you can do for your business, but learning a business intelligence tool used to take hours of time investment previously. Like if you wanted to learn Looker Studio or Tableau, it would take months to get competent. But Graph is totally changing this. You don't need to learn how to use the product. You just have to know how to speak English, and there's zero learning curve to get started. If you're looking for an AI native dashboarding tool, go to graph.com to learn more or click the link in the description. All right, let's get started with today's show.
Brother, I love seeing you, man.
Dude, it's so good to see you.
It's good to be back.
I was like, I saw this on my calendar today. I was like, hell yes.
Yes.
But, dude, welcome back, Tim. Your episode is one of the ones I get emailed about so often, where they're like, yo, this was like a masterclass in this. Thank you. Like we ran like some out of home advertising, for my like business locally, and it like immediately saw an impact, but we had no idea that this was a channel. So super excited to have you back and kind of give a state of the union about out of home advertising and digital out of home advertising. For the uninitiated, think billboards, think posters that are at bus stations. There's all these new mediums for that as well. And then also we're going to talk about all this, like what you're doing in the TV streaming space. You texted me the other day and we're like, yo, I'm getting CPMs that are cheaper than what you would get on like Facebook ads, which is
it's filthy,
crazy to even say out loud. So yeah, man, maybe we just dive in and start on the out of home stuff. Like what's happening there? And like for like the beginner that's listening to this, that's never ran any types of these campaigns, like what are the things to be focusing on, both from like an arbitrage and like how do you make this as effective as a channel as possible?
Yeah, it's great to be back, Cody. And this will be a fun conversation because I think since the last time we talked, I've been definitely approached and have gotten a ton of stories in the DMs as well from startups who are now trying it. I think just the confidence to go, you know what, I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work, but I've got a test budget. It's burning a hole in my pocket. I've already spent a ton of money on all things digital. Let me go try one of these billboard things and see if I can figure it out. So that confidence is probably the biggest change that I see since the last time that we talked. And hopefully this conversation will continue to bolster some of that. So I think the easiest way...
they're seeing it though too, right? Just to tee this up. Like a great example of this is like Cluely, right? They do this like billboard in like New York, Times Square, right? And that basically goes viral on social, and they get this earned media reach that comes from that. So I think people are starting to realize like, oh, I can use this medium as a way to get earned media on social. And I think that that's like a really fascinating thing to like, see happening. Our mutual friend, Joe, was talking to us about how talking to me about how they're using basically these like AI video generators to make these viral videos that like then get reposted across social. So like brands are starting to do this in the beauty space. Like one that I saw was like they had this helicopter fly in and like put like it's like a zit patch on the Mount Rushmore, and like it, like basically unbelievable piece of media, right? But what happens is like that goes viral, and then all the meme pages pick it up because like virality makes virality, and it creates this cascading effect. So I think there's this like, this change that's starting to happen within this, where people are realizing like, oh, it's not really just about the media in its physicality wherever the location it is. It's also like, can I get the social impressions to happen? Can I make something that's interesting enough to get the social impressions to happen? So anyways, just to kind of frame the whole conversation for everybody to understand the power
important.
that's here. So.
And I think that what you outlined is that earned media is intentional. It's not just go do something and hope something happens. Like, that distribution needs to be a part of the strategy if you're doing it for those reasons. If you're doing it just for maybe a home service business, or, hey, I've got a startup and I want to kind of penetrate this market, and geo-lift is probably going to be good enough, right? You could just go into your analytics, go into Search Console, see if you're getting more search traffic from the areas that you're doing it. But if the goal is to go viral, or at least go viral within your community, then having an intentional thought process behind all of it, from the creative, what's the message? Like, it's a moment that we're all experiencing together. So the bolder you're willing to be, fortune favors the bold. Like, you will be rewarded for taking a big chance, especially on a big format like a billboard. So that could be saying something a little bit silly, a little bit quirky, something a little bit off-brand maybe, right? Just something that makes people stop. You've got to make people stop and feel something during the course of their day. And if you can do that, then, well, to the victor goes the spoils, I think.
Totally. No, I totally agree. Okay, so let's jump into it. Talk to me about out of home. How are people effectively using it right now? How is digital changing that? Let's kind of get into the meat of it real quick.
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing digital has changed, especially if you're buying at scale, is flexibility. The ability to buy programmatically, really to deploy programmatically. I think there's still a stewardship component. If you're buying digital out of home at really any level of scale, I think it should be on a PMP basis. You should be negotiating directly with the media companies, understanding the media that you're buying. But if you're just testing it for the first time, I think that there's platforms we talked about probably the first time on blip.com. You can buy 1 or 2 billboards. You can run it like a meta campaign. Hey, I'm going to run some different creative. I'm going to test different things. So there's platforms that give you kind of that entry level accessibility like Blip, or you can buy it programmatically across your favorite DSP, Trade Desk, DV360, wherever you want to buy it. Just my piece of advice there would be know what you're buying so that you can really understand how it's being incorporated into the plan.
So what is a plan? Like, what is a good plan? What does that actually look like for a company to like make this effective?
I think that there's a really simple rule to think of this. If I have $100 ad budget, right? If I'm spending all of it today on digital, assume some percentage is going to fraud. Let's just say 10% for easy math. $100 ad budget, $10 is going to fraud. That means $90 is getting spent, right? And it's some percentage of that that's actually going to your end customer. I think if you just look at your budget and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take that first 10% and I'm going to invest it in an owned offline channel, something that I know there's no fraud on a billboard, right? Like there's a sign on the side of the highway and I can go see it, or it's a bus shelter and I can see it. I can see it. There's people around it. And that becomes kind of the arbitrage opportunity of it being misunderstood, undervalued. It's largely priced like real estate. So if you understand the value of an audience and you understand how that audience is more valuable than what you're renting the real estate for, well, you could probably make that math work for you. So I think that if you think about that $100 budget, I'm going to take the first $10. I'm going to commit that first $10 to something I know is real. Well, now you've just hedged against the fraud. Even if you're going to eat 10% on the $90, it's only $9 now of fraud. So I think that that's a simple way to really kind of dip your toes in the water. And then if you see that it's working, start to shift budget from other tactics that maybe you're less confident in or haven't been holding their weight. So I think that that's a good way to think about from a budgetary standpoint.
So, Tim, can we zoom out to the strategy and like how you just said this, like measuring this? Like what is effective? Like how do people actually measure the effectiveness of this out of home? Like what are the the top 1% doing that is making this channel be extremely effective for them?
I think what the top 1% are doing that's making it most effective for them is they're looking at it holistically. When I spend money on this channel, does my overall cost to acquire a customer come down? Do I add
so it's
some
like a
level
blended
of
CAC?
100%, right? Am I adding any sort of incrementality? I've seen advertisers who they are testing markets where they want to test their bottom performing markets against top performing markets. I've seen those bottom 3 performing markets become top 3 performing markets by just adding digital out of home. Not increasing the budget, just allocating it differently. Because what is it? It's instant grassroots credibility at whatever scale you want to activate it at. It could be a 1 billboard down the street, or it could be 100 across the country. And then to your point of, hey, I have a plan behind this. I'm going to activate my social army. I'm going to activate my army of influencers. I'm going to put my influencers on the billboards because they're going to go out and they're going to create the distribution for me. So I think those are a few different ways to think about it. You could be very targeted. Maybe you've got an ABM targeted account approach. Well, cool. Then let's just figure out where those offices are. Let's figure out what roads those employees likely travel to and from work. And this was the Brex playbook. They just made themselves instantly credible. So now when your team's hitting the phones, oh yeah, I've seen you before. I know who you are. You've been in my email box. You know what? Did you have a billboard on the main interstate that I take to my office every day? Now, all of a sudden, you're creating this groundswell, your point, this digital gravity, right? You're creating this moment where it's pulling these people into your universe.
That's fascinating. I just want to connect some dots here from another thing I read recently, where basically they were seeing, like they were just doing like very broad ads in the e-com space. But what they saw is a universal lift, or basically a decrease in their CAC across all digital channels. So they started doing this like, very traditional kind of just like brand marketing. And it, within a 3-month period, basically saw the CAC across all digital channels decrease. And I think it's the same thing here. Like, I have this podcasting playbook, right? Where it's like, okay, we build this podcast about the industry. What it does, though, is it makes it so that when a salesperson gets in contact with you, they have a way higher likelihood of knowing, like, I've heard of that brand before. And what I'm hearing you say is that these billboards are a way to do that in the same capacity. And so you can see like, oh, is it like basically like your acquisition cost, like the measurement here is like, look at the blended acquisition cost before and after running these.
Yes.
And think, I mean, probably an even bigger way to, there's, more traditional way to track this as well could be looking at like branded searches from a geography that are happening. I ran this forever ago in a past life when I worked at a B2B marketing agency that was like working for these companies that manufacture like doors and windows and stuff.
Okay.
Right? But like what we ended up doing is we were looking at the traffic that was coming from direct or organic search and Google Search Console, and then also the branded search that was happening from the geographies that we ran these campaigns in. And so like a direct correlation, like we ran a billboard campaign, in greater Atlanta, and Atlanta would just like heat up on our heat map, right? From a traffic standpoint, just because people are, basically going and Googling that thing, right? Whatever it is. So kind of fascinating. So digital out of home is way more advanced though. So like traditional out of home, you just put this billboard up and be like, yeah, I know it's working, but it's that classic marketing saying where it's like, I know 50% of my marketing is working. I don't know what 15% it is. But digital out of home is way more, from my understanding, like ROI based, like you can kind of see the impact that's happening. Can you break that down for us? Like, why is this becoming actually a very, competitive channel to direct ads that you would see with search ads or, social media ads, et cetera?
I think the biggest advancement is the ability to pipe some of that data back and to at least create a feedback loop. Maybe it's not closing the feedback loop completely, but I'm at least able to incorporate my digital out of home buy into my overall campaign strategy. And I can look at it as a line item and say, oh, okay, I see I delivered a bunch of impressions. I can see my blended CPM. I can start to understand directionally that by adding this channel, here's what happened. I think that's the biggest advancement. How that's different than analog static billboards is you're not really ingesting that data digitally. It's probably not built into your BI tool. It's really hard to report on, but the arbitrage is even bigger because maybe it's undervalued by the billboard company itself, right? It's harder to sell for them because digital out of home is the sexy thing. It's the thing that everyone's buying. Well, that billboard might only be $1,000 a month. And they give you an impression estimate. And then when you do the math, you're like, this makes no sense. This is a 72-cent CPM. This is crazy. Of course I'm going to do it. If you have that level of risk tolerance for it's a little bit opaque, but I know that the math on this makes a ton of sense. Well, then I think that that's an area where you can still incorporate maybe traditional out of home. But I do think the reason that it's obviously gotten as much traction and attention as it has become the ability to close a feedback loop, or at least start
That's
it.
fascinating. I just want to anchor this too for people, right? You're saying a 75-cent CPM, right? Like that's insane.
No, it's dirty.
How cheap that is. I mean, it's dirty. Yeah, it's absolutely like just dirty. To contrast that, I think the average on Facebook ads is like $7 and the average on TikTok is like $8 per CPM. That's just like, very bell curve middle, right?
Yeah.
If you're making very average creative, but I mean, even with good creative, like we're seeing like still around $4, maybe $3. So you're coming in at a cost that's 1/3 of the cost. So like that is what we're talking about here. The other thing I want to pair with this too is like Facebook ads right now, the best targeting is just like target everyone and like let it optimize into the people that's most likely to make the conversion action you're looking for. And so that CPM number is like 1-to-1, right? Like we're targeting all of Facebook and saying
everyone.
that $4 CPM, right? And like this billboard is like, or whatever, the campaign you run with the out of home, it's like we're targeting everyone in this geography and we're seeing this like CPM, right? So it's pretty like I guess I'm trying to say it's you can I think compare this in a way. So are there platforms or tools like anything to use? Like I was just looking at Blip for the like the out of home buying. Is there anything that like this for the digital out of home or like any tools that people should know about to like track the effectiveness of these campaigns?
I think the in terms of tracking the effectiveness, your source of truth is always going to be Purist. Whatever that is for you, looking at it on a geo-lift basis, looking at it on an overall CAC basis, looking at it on some level of incrementality or average order value or sales cycle. It could be any number of things that it affects. It could just be, hey, it makes my other stuff work a little bit better. My cost per click comes down. I'm getting more branded search. It could be a lot of different ways that it shows up for you. So I think that in terms of measuring it, your data is always going to be best. Now, in terms of buying it, a lot of different ways to do it. I do think that Blip is probably the easiest way for anyone to get involved. Now, it's mostly billboards. I think that bigger is better. If you can, figure out how to create rectangular creative, a billboard's always going to be the most effective. It's just the biggest piece of real estate. There are more sophisticated platforms. Yeah, let's talk. Go ahead.
Tim, can you talk to me about the arbitrage? Like, how do you find the cheap CPMs on these billboards? Like, is there anything there, like, tactically that you can do? Like, I just was looking in the background while you're talking about this, and they're like, yeah, you can get these billboards sometimes for 50 cents to $2 CPMs, which is, again, just dirty. So how do you actually do that?
I think you start with your goal. What's your goal? I'm thinking about a company now. They actually invest in a lot of static billboards because they've found the arbitrage to be even more significant, right? You're always on. It's your space 100% of the time. But they are a SaaS company that builds software for dentists. And so what they've started to do is feature their customers on the billboards and target the dentist's office in the markets that they want to get new dentist office in. So that was their strategy. Their strategy was, hey, we want to acquire more target accounts. And that was how they went and executed it. So I think that that's probably the easiest way to approach it. Now, if your goal is just hey, I can sell to anyone anywhere. I'm looking for the billboards with the most eyeballs with the lowest biddable entry point. And then from there, I'm in the software. I'm trying to figure out where I can.
In Blip? Like, can you filter that within Blip where you're like, yo, like this, show me the cheapest billboard from a CPM perspective, like in a geography?
A little bit. And you got to take it with a grain of salt because all the impressions are estimates. So that's why I say buy big markets, buy big signs in big markets and pay as little as you can for them. I think that's a good strategy. That could be day parting. I'm trying to get
way more tactical, and you're like, yo, just slow down.
I know.
Just like build, I wish that we could. In big markets. Yeah.
and that sounds so basic. It sounds like
it's
just
great.
It's big.
It's the right thing, right? Like I don't know. I always think about this like with like building the right product is actually more important than building the right product in the right market is more important than anything else that you can do. Like if you try to build a thing that people don't want to buy or in a small market, like it's, you're just in a terrible position. And I think it's basically taking that same idea and like spinning it here, right? It's like do big billboards in big markets, and you'll see like the cheapest CPM that you can get.
But I don't want to cop out. So let's be tactical. I think maybe if let's talk events. I know that's a big focus for companies. Conferences. Hey, I want to show up at the conference. I want to do something big and splashy. Maybe I want to complement the booth that I've invested in. I've got a bunch of team there. I want to support the team. Or maybe I don't have a presence and I'm just trying to show up a little bit guerrilla. That's where I think you can get very tactical. A digital billboard truck, it's like a movie theater on wheels, right? You got 3 sides, play video. They generally have sound. They're equipped for audio, so you can play an audio message. You can put them wherever you want, drive up and down this street all day. Brands do this. You've certainly seen it as a consumer. You go to the concert, you go to the big game. There's a million different little activations going on. That's everyone vying for attention, right? So how can you show up? We've done things like street teams. Street teams are really effective. I think that street teams at an event are maybe one of the best ways to get known and to get your product into people's hands. If you have a product, maybe no better way than that. Sponsoring things adjacent to events is awesome. Hey, I'm going to sponsor the coffee cart. I'm going to find the person with the coffee cart and I'm going to sponsor the coffee cart to sit there all day and give people free coffee. And I've got a little poster there and maybe I've got a representative from my team next to the coffee cart. So, and I guess the thing with all of this is it requires a little bit of pre-planning, maybe something that doesn't require as much pre-planning, but could be event-based, tactical-based, really high level of impact relative to the cost. Have you ever been in the backseat of an Uber or a Lyft and there's a screen in the backseat? It's playing content.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
I almost made a company in this space. I wanted to send out the DraftKings is huge, right? And
huge.
Dude, like imagine like it's a QR code, scan this in the back of this Uber to like get basically like $100 in betting credits. I thought you could do something in that whole category, but totally different thing. But yes, so it's sponsoring those around there as well is an opportunity.
You can buy them programmatically. You can buy them for short periods of time, right? So now all of a sudden, hey, I'm gonna swarm this market with Uber and Lyft rideshare TV ads. Those can be lean-in moments. You can gamify that experience. You can put a QR code on there. You could capture an email. You could just play a video. There's a million different things. But I think if you think about the audience, where are the moments of the highest dwell time? How can I create a connection? How can I put something in their hand? How can I get them to interact with me? Then the list starts to get really short of the things that make sense. So those are a few ways to approach it.
I love it, man. That's awesome. Okay, so cheap CPMs.
Cheap CPMs.
We've been talking about this for the last 10 minutes. Can we transition to TV? And I mean, I know this is where you're spending a lot of your time now.
Yeah.
What is this? What is this category? So it's basically streaming TV from my understanding, but can you talk to me about that? Explain that to me.
Sure. So obviously, I think we probably all understand it as consumers. We cut the cord. We want to watch content on demand, the shows we love, the movies we love, the game, however we, right? Like consumer control. That's the theme. In ways, it's kind of like the transition of a traditional static billboard to programmatically traded digital out of home. You're seeing the same thing happen with TV, right? Traditional broadcast, cable TV, linear television is being replaced or upended by content that we download and access over the internet, whether it's on our living room TV or it's on our phone on the go. YouTube is the biggest TV station in the world right now, right? 13% of all the attention from a television standpoint is consumed on YouTube. And that's not YouTube TV. That's just content on YouTube, on a TV, on a phone. So the way that we consume media has changed. Cool. We all agree. Now, there is the persistent factor of a billboard hasn't changed all that much. It's still just a sign, a sign on a stick in the ground on the side of the highway. But TV has largely been immeasurable, right? We can't measure the money we spend on it. We spend money on commercials. Maybe we can see spikes in traffic after our commercial runs if we're spending enough money. But the biggest things that have changed is now TV is a lot like digital. And as search continues to really evolve pretty much overnight, right? The AI has cannibalized search and really wildly disrupting that. The ability to have a direct line of communication with your customer and the ability to give them a direct path to conversion is really becoming table stakes. So that's what excites me about streaming TV. And from an advertising standpoint, you're targeting the household on the biggest screen in their house most of the time. You're renting space on someone's living room TV. Now, look, you know me as the billboard guy, and billboards are my first love, but holy shit, like, if I can serve an ad to your TV, and if I can do that, then being able to measure it becomes the most important part. So what's pretty cool about the company that I'm at, we provide ad tech to agencies. So we are a software company for agencies who buy, manage, and measure streaming TV advertising. And we have two really important parts. We have an ad server and we have a pixel. And what that means is because I know who I'm serving the ad to, the household, and because I have the pixel, I know the entire customer journey. I know who the ad went to. So I'll paint this scenario. And this is something that we have a live stream into, and it's crazy. When we're doing huge campaigns for like national advertisers, they're spending so much on advertising. We watch this live stream feed of all the things, the bidding, the buying, the click, that it's crazy. So the way it works is you serve an ad on a streaming TV, the ad gets delivered. We start a window. We're looking at a 48-hour view-through window. Does something happen within that 48 hours? Hey, Cody went to Google. He typed in the brand name into the Google search, went to the website, started to fill in a form, and bounced. 12 hours later, Cody was retargeted with a display ad, didn't click on it, went back to Google, typed in the URL directly this time, went to the site, completed the add to cart, checked out, converted. That was all a blind spot before, or Google was just getting credit for all of it, right? And you're just spending money into this abyss, hoping for traffic so that we can score the media quality. Well, because we have an ad server and because we have a pixel, we give this technology to agencies. And what you're able to see isn't just how did the streaming TV media impact the buyer's journey, but how much of my search volume originated from seeing a streaming TV ad? How much of my retargeting budget is actually driving someone back to my site? And what do they do once they get there? What we're seeing between $3 and $4 cost per visit from streaming TV exposure, and the traffic is converting 3 to 4 times higher than any other traffic source.
Okay,
we're
I just want to
putting it
mirror
side
this.
by side against search. Yes, we are positioning streaming TV ads against search. If your cost per click is below $4, I can make the case for you that you should move that money to streaming TV today.
So Tim, I just want to mirror this back to you to make sure I understand it, and also like the audience has taken the insight from this. So you're basically saying that because you're running it on a local IP and the ad happens when they go and do a search on that same IP. So like they're on their Wi-Fi at home, they search from their phone. You can basically directly attribute that, hey, this ad was shown, this person did this action. We can see that direct conversion. And I want to drill down on this idea that you said, because I think it's so
You got that
important
exactly right, by the way. That is
cool.
exactly right.
Okay, so I want to drill down on this idea too, that like you're in somebody's living room, right? And so I want to connect a couple ideas here. So like one, cable news brainwashed America with being in their living room every night. Two, for the first time ever, anybody basically has access to this. This is like why we're going really ham on YouTube right now. YouTube it's really it's one of my favorite things that I saw recently. So in a Netflix earnings call, they basically asked them like, how are you going to compete against YouTube? And they don't have an answer basically. So YouTube is the fastest growing like in living room streaming. So on TV, it's the biggest segment of streaming is coming from YouTube. So just think about that. Anybody can go make a video. And they could show up in the living room of the person that they're trying to, like on a huge screen, like just to what we were talking about previously, like get the biggest billboard you can and the biggest audience you can. Like you're talking about the biggest screen in someone's home, you're basically showing up on that. And if you can do that consistently, what's the impact there? So I think that that's a component of this. And then also that directly, like to be able to directly attribute the action is that step that's deeper. Yeah. If somebody wanted just to go start this, like somebody who's listening, like what is the easiest way for them to like go and run an ad, like a streaming ad? Like, is there like contracts that they have to set up? Like, or can they just like go turn this on and like run a test in the next, 7 days? How could somebody do that?
Two ways. So if it's a direct advertiser listening, so we have two arms and two ways to service. So because we had this persistent need from brands direct, and our focus is really in the automotive space, but we consistently had this request from brands direct. So we spun up an agency, and it's a completely separate company from the core business itself. But if there's a brand direct that just wants to get live, we have a streaming TV specialist team that all they do is activate ads on streaming, give you all the measurements, turnkey. It's a flat rate CPM, managed service, includes targeting and measurement. That's just easy, right? That's the easy button. That's one side. If there's someone listening who's an agency, maybe it's a meta agency looking to add streaming, or you're just a traditional agency and you want this
like if
capability.
I'm the head of marketing, like what could I do tomorrow, like to test this out? Like, is there like an application or something like that I can go use?
If I'm
or
the
it's just
head
like
of
I just
marketing,
go turn on ads? Yeah.
If I'm the head of marketing, I say, hey Cody, can you introduce me to that guy Tim? And that guy Tim's just going to make an intro, and your creative will be live in the next 48 hours. That's one route. Or if you're an agency, you're like, I want to add this as a capability, or even just a brand in-house team. I think that's it. For us, it's a totally untapped market, and definitely a space that we're interested in exploring. Brand in-house teams who are trying to build an owned and Kenneth, come back to me. Who are trying to build an owned and operated ad tech stack. This is perfect for a brand in-house team because the measurement is
there a direct
omnichannel.
access solution, Tim? Like where I can just like, I'm a marketer who wants to touch the keyboard, right? Like I want to get in there and like see the platform. Is there anything like that that's out there, or is it all like it's still kind of like behind like closed doors to get access to this stuff?
To do it at the level that we're talking about, it's a little bit closed to access. Now, our platform, and maybe we could do a future conversation. I'll give you access. I'll give you the behind the scenes on the platform. It's simpler than Meta. Like our team uses our platform. Our team is hands-on keyboard with our platform. It's, hey, who do you want to target? Which market? Which dates? Put in your budget. We have frequency capping even, right? That's a big complaint. Hey, I watch streaming TV. I see the same ad 96 times. We have frequency capping just the same as any other platform. The UI looks exactly the same as any other digital platform. The big difference is just really commercially. So I think there's probably a future state where we make all of that available, but today it is exclusive to our agency partners.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. Good to know. And then is there like minimum budgets that you see people come in? Like, if they throw $5,000 at this over 30 days or like something like that, like what's kind of the level that would be necessary to even, see this work or to add a capacity?
So thinking about it in kind of two frames. If it were me, I think minimum you've got to come out of the box with $5,000 budget just to get enough data. We do see folks who are kind of just treating it like a display add-on, hey, $1,500, $2,000, and it's effective. It's still very effective, right? For exactly the reasons that we talked about. But if you're trying to really move the needle, if you're trying to gobble up market share, you're trying to knock out a competitor, you're trying to build a brand, then yeah, I think $5,000 is the right place to test.
Fascinating. Okay, cool. Awesome, man. What have I not been asking you about today that I should be in relationship to all of this? Is there any stuff that you're seeing or brands that you're seeing do this type of work that you feel like is notable or has notoriety, et cetera? What should I be asking you about?
I think that right now everyone is approaching streaming TV from a place of this is like a nice thing to add on. Yes, it is a nice thing to add on. It's also probably the biggest opportunity. I felt this way about out of home and digital out of home. What I learned along that path was it's just hard. It's not universal, right? One market has really great billboards and great digital out of home and another market doesn't. But the TV is universal, right? Everyone has a TV in their home. Most of the TVs in the homes around the United States are now connected to the internet. It's the one place that I can reach someone, and the arbitrage is just silly. So I think that is the biggest opportunity from an advertising standpoint.
Fascinating. And then the last question for you before I I cut you loose, how deep can the targeting go on this? Because I'm curious as well, if there's remarketing that I can do, because this to me would be something that would be crazy. Is they hit the site, we pixel them, and then TV ads basically show up in the background. That alone has so much value in it. So what are the both the interest-based, demographic-based targeting that you guys can do, and then also is there any of that remarketing that's possible with this?
Yeah, great question. So the retargeting piece, I think that's out of the box. Just everyone should do that. Yes, that same pixel, that same measurement pixel allows you to retarget then site traffic across not just streaming TV, but streaming audio, display. So you can have a full funnel, just streaming retargeting strategy. In terms of what targeting can you apply on the front end, what we're seeing is kind of interesting. If you have a customer database, activating and segmenting and activating that customer database is really exciting to watch, because there's all sorts of opportunities in there. Hey, these people bought this one specific SKU. They bought it 2 years ago. I want to show them the new version of that. I want to show them this bundle. All of the decisioning, all of that is now dynamic. You connect your inventory feed, you connect some creative assets, you decide what the parameters are and how you want to kind of target these audiences, and then you just press go. Right? You spend the time thinking about it on the front end, and then it just all runs in the back end for you. So that's pretty cool. What we're seeing from a cost and effectiveness standpoint is when you add targeting to delivery, when it's not your audience, it drives up CPMs, and there's no direct correlation to performance. We're actually seeing the inverse. It's what you talked about on Facebook. The less targeting that there is, the lower the CPM, the higher the impact. Use the creative as the targeting, unless you have a big owned and operated audience, in which case, do all the really cool and interesting things that you can to get as much value out of that. Create lookalike audiences. It's the same playbook. It's the same playbook, just with a bigger screen and better measurement.
That's fascinating, man. I love it. Tim, where can people find you if they want to reach out? Thank you as always for coming on.
Absolutely. I think the place I'd like to point folks to today is stateofstreaming.com. It's where we're covering all of the news related to streaming TV, all the acquisitions, the consolidation, the ad tech, the measurement, all of the things that impact streaming TV. Stateofstreaming.com. That's a good place to get familiar. And then if there's any conversations or considerations beyond that, just directly, that's a good way to get in touch. Tim@cognitionads.com. You can send me an email there. Tim@cognitionads.com. We'll be in touch.
Awesome, man. We'll include that in all the show notes. And thanks again. We'll have to have you back on in like 6 months and tell us about what's happening in this space. I feel like all of it's like changing super quickly. So thank you again for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, Cody.